We're already recording. Don't worry. I handled it.
What do you think my hair looks like?
Probably like fucking dog shit.
Dog shit.
I think that's just what you look like.
By the way, I wash my hair every day and there's product in it. It's not greasy. It might be a little wet, but it's not grease.
You said you had an update also, by the way.
Apparently, I saw this in a YouTube video today that was about this. I haven't done a lot of research into this yet. But apparently...
Typical. Let's talk about it on a podcast for thousands of people.
So D&D...
As in Dungeons and Dragons.
They're changing up how D&D works.
What do you mean? They can just change it?
It's becoming a live service game.
What does that mean, a live service game?
Instead of Dungeon Master would buy a book and would read the book, and that's how you would learn how to be a Dungeon Master, and you could go through a bunch of different plots and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the players would have to read a book, then you could play D&D.
Sure.
Well, now it's a live service that you have to pay a subscription for.
I was just gonna say, did they make it a fucking subscription thing?
They did, yeah. And now, so like when you stop paying the subscription, instead of like a book, which you bought for $30 and now you have for 100 years, the live service, when you stop paying the subscription, you don't have access to any of that stuff anymore.
Horrifying. I have a question. Why the fuck would anyone do that? Just
I don't understand, 'cause
there's so many other books and like D&D adjacent stories that you can just like, I'll take this story or whatever.
Oh, do you know what? Money. That's why they would do that.
No, I'm sorry. Why would a consumer do this?
Oh, they wouldn't, because there's...
The whole thing is like your imagination. Make up your own story.
The comment that one of the comments on the video I was watching said there's 52 years of lore and books for you to go back to. We don't need Hasbro anymore.
While we're talking shit on Hasbro, you see all the union shit where they're trying to like bust the unions. The arena team is trying to unionize and they're saying like no and sending them letters and shit. And that's fucking stupid.
Apparently they're using this whole, well, we got to pay the people that make D&D, so we got to start doing a live service thing.
What do you mean?
While you're trying to actively not do it.
Aren't you posting quarterly thing? We're like, we've made fucking $75 billion this year. I don't know. I'm making that number up, but like they're making so much money. Just
they make a ton of money. Just fucking pay them. Right? Every set is like the new best-selling set.
How is it an issue of like paying them enough money? Like the arena team and the Magic team, they make the cards. Pay them money.
You're already pushing the cost of inflation on the consumer already, so that you don't feel it.
People are stupid.
It's so dumb. Yeah, a Polygon article is about it. So
on that note, should we talk about red cards?
Let's talk about some red cards.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about a whole other game made by the same company.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 with your link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH. I'm Cam.
And I'm Dylan. This week, I'm here on the camera in the beginning. And also, we are talking about red cards in cEDH. Competitive Elder Dragon Highlander, in case you don't know. Talking about
shit. That's what we're talking about?
Talking about what the red aspect of the color pie brings to decks in cEDH. We're talking a little bit broad strokes. I said that right the first time. And then a little bit about specifics. You have a list of cards. We're going to try to rank them as we go.
So here's red in cEDH.
When you think about red in cEDH, what are your first couple thoughts? What are you thinking about?
Atali is the first thing I think of. Yeah.
Honestly, like Atali is a good like reference point too, because like I feel like what red brings often is speed. All the turbo decks in the format, if you would say the three fastest decks in the format are Atali, Ral, and Rogsai, and all of those decks play red, and red is a big aspect of why they're fast.
Because of the mana that red makes. I think this is a huge reason as to why red is still kind of like relevant in cEDH. Last week we were talking about green's mana being a little bit too slow, but red is really where you start to get a lot of the speed. Outside of like, Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual are kind of nice and black, but those are two cards out of the entire 99 or 98 that you have, whereas red gives you so many different options of mana that you have access to, and some are going to be better than others, but there's still options, which is what I think is super nice. And the other thing that I also think that it gives you for the most part is like anti-meta stuff.
Yeah.
The removal that you have access to, and things that help you, fight against heuristic studies and, other things that are very popular in the format.
Definitely certain specific tools in red that allow you to fight through the heuristic study slop. We'll talk about them specifically, but there's certain cards like the Blasts and Jessica's Will that can really help you like go over the top and really help in those heuristic study worlds. It's kind of funny because last week we talked about what green offers. A lot of it is tutors, and that's kind of what black offers, except black offers like the best few tutors, and then green offers like the 10 next best tutors, right? And
I feel is like the same.
It's the same thing with like rituals where like black has Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual and Culling the Weak. Like those are like the best rituals, but then red has like a whole bunch of other rituals, Rite of Flame and Desperate Ritual and Jessica's Will. There's like a whole bunch of other red mana sources, even like Orcish Lumberjack and Tinderwall and shit like that aren't technically red, but they're like reddish and red adjacent.
They're two colors. They're not on the list today.
Yeah, they're part of what red offers to the color pie of cEDH
when you're
or whatever.
in that color combination,
right?
Like, that's what gives you a ton of additional speed to like pay you off for being in those two colors.
Yeah, so like red kind of offers you like not like the very best of something, but like the second best of something, and then
except win conditions. It offers you the very best of win conditions.
Yeah, except for the very best of win conditions, because it doesn't give you Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation. condition, which is on paper the best win condition. And this is the same thing where like Underworld Breach is like kind of the second best win condition, but realistically it's the first best win condition.
We should start there with Underworld Breach today.
In my opinion, Underworld Breach is like the best card in the format.
This is the reason to play red.
Most of the time, this is the thing. If Underworld Breach got banned, almost everything that we're saying would be kind of null and void. Like the cards would still be good, but there would be such a less reason to be in red. Like Underworld Breach does carry a lot of that weight. And I think we said this a little bit before with Dockside Extortionist, where like Dockside was like the big pull to being red.
Yeah.
That was true, and red is still fine after that. But I feel like Breach even more so. Like Dockside was just mana. It was very, very good mana, but there's other mana. Underworld Breach is the win condition for a lot of these decks.
Like you were saying, on paper, Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation seems like it should be, easier to do because the trigger for Thassa's Oracle is just like so difficult to interact with. It's just one spell then that's really the only thing that matters. What really makes Underworld Breach so good is that it almost acts as a one-card win condition. Because so long as you've been playing the game, your graveyard is probably going to have a couple of spells in it, so that way, if you've tutored once, you're able to set yourself up to win the game off of your Underworld Breach from there.
And it works really well with just like the simple idea of acquiring lots of resources, right? If you're going for Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation, you might get a lot of stuff, but you might not necessarily get the two specific things. Whereas if you get like Underworld Breach and a lot of stuff, normally if you just have like stuff in your graveyard or a Lion's Eye Diamond, like if you're playing the Breach correctly, once it resolves, it doesn't really matter what your opponents have anymore because you're going to be able to respond over top. Like normally the best play patterns with Breach is cast the Lion's Eye Diamond first, then cast the Underworld Breach, and then once Breach resolves, they're going to wait for an opportunity to besage you or something. Okay, in response to the besage you, well, you just cracked your Lion's Eye Diamond because that was the very next thing that you did and you have priority, and that's a mana ability, they can't respond, and now your graveyard has 40 cards in it. So if they breach it, well, you have Deflecting Swat, or you have Born Upon the Wind, you can go over top, and you have access to everything that you can just go over top of anything.
That's the thing. So it kind of makes Valley Floodcaller and Born Upon a Wind almost act like additional Grand Abolisher effects for you, because then it doesn't really matter what your opponents do, because on top of it, sure, they're responding to your Lion's Eye Diamond now, but you have Lotus Petal somewhere in the deck, right? Like, especially if you can be set up nicely, like there's a lot of times where Underworld Breach can let you win super safely. It makes cards like Pactive Negation be a free counterspell almost whenever you need it, so that people definitely need to have two pieces of interaction after your Underworld Breach has resolved. There's so many different things that you can do with Underworld Breach that my brain is slowing me down because I'm thinking about all of them at the same time, but I can't say all of them at the same time.
We have a game coming up, I think not this week, but maybe the following week, where I, like, no spoilers or whatever, but I guess it's a spoiler, I do this exact thing where like I have a Breach in play, I have Lion's Eye Diamond already, I crack the Lion's Eye Diamond, I discard my whole hand, it has Born Upon the Wind in it, cast Lion's Eye Diamond again, and I kind of sense that the Endurance is coming from Nate. He casts the Endurance, and then in response to the Endurance, since I've already made mana, I can just flash Born Upon the Wind over top and then go over top of the Endurance, find the Brain Freeze, and mill myself out, and then it doesn't matter. I just win with Oracle over top of the Endurance or whatever.
A second Lion's Eye Diamond is normally like a really strong play pattern from your Underworld Breach play, because what you really need to do is like make sure that you have the mana to back up whatever you're going to do, because the only thing that you can lose to is being caught with your pants down to a besage you. But if you have an extra 3 mana from an extra Lion's Eye Diamond, now you have Deflecting Swat mana where you can even hard cast it from your graveyard.
And those are like the things I'm looking for, honestly, a lot of times when I'm winning with Breach. Like if the Breach resolves, I have to think like, one, how do I beat the counter spells for Breach? Okay, if I have that covered, after the Breach resolves, what do I lose to at that point? And realistically, there's not much. Like once the Breach is here, you lose to Besage You and Endurance. Those are the big ones. And Deflecting Swat is pretty good at stopping both of those things. So if you can have Deflecting Swat somewhere in your hand or graveyard before you start going for the Breach line, you know you can be pretty safe. Pact of Negation, like you mentioned, is another one. If the Pact is there, since it's literally free, not Fierce Guardianship free or Force of Will free, you can cast it for free with Underworld Breach, because Force of Will and Fierce Guardianship, you still have to pay the mana for those because the escape cost is equal to their mana cost, which is Pact of Negation is actual 0. So like Pact and Deflecting Swat, and even though you have to pay the mana for Deflecting Swat, it's like the only thing that stops specifically Endurance and Besage You, which are like very good against Underworld Breach.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you're thinking, how the hell are you supposed to have all of these different things when you are going through an I know what you're thinking. How the hell are you going to have all of these different things when you're going through your Underworld Breach line? It can be surprisingly easy to have like a ton of resources by the time you're actually casting Underworld Breach, because a lot of times you are either breaching after you've ad nauseamed or necropotenced, so you have gained 15 to 30 cards in your hand. The other scenario is that you've cast Rhystic Study forever ago, and you've been able to completely refill your hand every single turn, and then, you know, win on a turn where there was a huge stack war that you were are able to come on top of, and then that way you can win on top of that stack or untap with like 15 cards in your hand, and again, be like super set with just one tutor or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
oftentimes you do win with an actual Thassa's Oracle, but Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, it doesn't give you that help, you know what I mean? Like, Underworld Breach not only wins you the game, but it gives you access to the tools to protect itself.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Like, if you set up Underworld Breach with Intuition, you can re-intuition, right? And like set yourself up again to make sure you get the other stuff to win.
Where if you're just like tutoring for a Thassa's Oracle and tutoring for a Demonic Constellation and casting them both, if someone has anything, you haven't done anything else to set yourself up. Whereas like Breach gives you the opportunity to like make a bunch of mana and then cast a bunch of counterspells to protect anything. Like,
Here, I can pivot.
you don't have to spend a ton more time on this. If you've played cEDH, you understand how strong the card is. It's the strongest card in the format. There is an argument that Rhystic Study is the strongest card in the format too, and I totally get that, and I see there's a good argument for that as well. But I think they're kind of two halves of the same coin. Underworld Breach helps you win the game. Rhystic Study helps you not lose the game. Sometimes, you know what I mean?
If you draw the right cards.
Right, if you draw the right cards, and they help each other. If one goes, the other one becomes far, far better, right?
Yeah.
If Underworld Breach were to ever get banned, Rhystic Study gets way better because now people have a much more difficult time winning out of few resources. Whereas like if Rhystic Study gets banned, Underworld Breach has like much less things to care about because normally when you're winning with Underworld Breach, you're casting a lot of spells. You're going to give the Rhystic Study player a lot of cards.
But you already have everything that you need in your graveyard. So as long as stuff can resolve, like all you have to do is stave off the counterspell for the silence that you find somewhere, and then you can take it from there.
Underworld Breach is the best red card that we've talked about so far, and probably all,
all day. But I did kind of like want to get that one out of the way with, so that that way we don't sit here and go
right. Should we talk about other red win conditions? Because red does actually offer a good chunk of other win conditions too.
I don't have any of them on my list, but they do because I don't think that they're great.
Can I surprise you and throw a big wrench into your plan, which I know you love? Squee and Dualcaster Mage are cards that I think are pretty relevant red win condition cards that specifically only do one thing, but if you're in red, they are a consideration, especially if you're in like 2-color red. They specifically need other stuff, obviously. They're not on their own, but Dualcaster Mage plus a Twin Flame effect and Squee plus a Food Chain, those are common-ish win conditions. And I do think like it's a pull to red. Like part of the appeal of Atali is you get Food Chain and Squee is way better than Misthallow Griffin or Eternal Scourge because you can cast it specifically from graveyard, not exile.
Which is insanely helpful when you like Lion's Eye Diamond or need to gamble it into your graveyard.
Exactly. When you want Red Entomb, and Gamble is a perfect Red Entomb for Squee. And
That's
like
true,
although Squee realistically only sees play, I would realistically say only in one deck. It only sees play in Atali.
I don't think there's another Food Chain deck.
Technically there could be. There's not though. You know what I mean? Like you could play Food Chain in red and other decks in other colors. None of them are good. Atali is the good one. Atali does it best. And Food Chain is green, so we're not going to talk about Food Chain. But Squee making infinite mana with Food Chain and being able to recast with Atali, I think that is a real thing. That's kind of a pull to red.
Pull to red is strong because like following that up right after you talk about Underworld Breach being a pull to red feels like quite. And then you talk about a 3-mana 2/1 that you can cast from anywhere. Does kind of seem a little bit silly. It's an option that you have and something that you can do in red. And I feel like what's nice about the Dualcaster Mage line with like the Twin Flames is that this is something that any red deck can pull off. You just have to be able to make enough red mana to do. Is it good? No.
Not really. But if you're, as a Atali podcast, if you're already wanting to play Twin Flames and Twin Flame itself by itself is a good card, which Atali is the only case where just Twin Flame is good enough. You don't even really care about Dualcaster. I think it's reasonable to play Dualcaster in your deck as well.
Because the worst case scenario, it could also be a copy of a Force of Will or something like that. Like it is at least interaction.
Which is always bad. 3 mana for interaction is always bad. That's never good. But yes, on paper, theoretically, it does have a
we were just
backside,
talking
you know
about hard paying for a deflecting swat from our graveyard for 3 mana too.
That's true. Underworld Breach is more helpful at setting that up. But yes, you're 100% right.
Again,
like,
there is hard to follow up Squee from Underworld Breach, but totally understand where you're coming from. Like, these things are win conditions that you have access to in red. There's just if you start to add more colors to your deck, you don't really need these things a lot of the time.
And if we're talking about shitty red win conditions that are in very specific decks, I've been playing Ral recently. Grape Shot is an actual win condition in that deck because you can make literal Infinite Storm or just cast Grape Shot with Underworld Breach several times. That's a pretty good way to use Grape Shot as a weird win condition of just like...
my list was more focused around like the top 10.
Oh, and we're going to spend more time on that. And I'm sorry to even bring these up. I just feel like we're talking about Underworld Breach, so I want to...
win conditions.
What are the other win conditions in red? And I think these are the ones that they're there. They are there. They're probably not going to make the top 10.
They won't make the top 10 for sure.
No, but they're just like, they do exist. Casting Grape Shot from your graveyard with Underworld Breach. Storm is 20, Storm is 20, Storm is 20. You know what I mean?
That sounds more of an Underworld Breach as your win condition.
You're probably
than
right.
anything else.
Yeah, it is with the win condition, but you do need something to finish the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, red decks give you a lot of other options to win the game if you don't have the ability to naturally with your commander.
Right. I have had many situations where I do through all the steps and I resolve the Underworld Underworld Breach, or I could resolve the Underworld Breach, but my actual win conditions have already been exiled. They're gone for some other way. And like, yes, I have a breach and 50 cards in my graveyard, but none of these cards actually win the game. There's no Thoracle, there's no whatever, you know what I mean? So like, although breach is a win condition, it's also important to remember that it's not technically, it facilitates a winning of the game.
Sometimes you get on like a Final Fortune turn, and then like you try to brain freeze people out and you go, oh, I can't do that.
I can't do that because I'm going to die before I pass a turn and you draw your draw step, right? So we don't have to talk about most. I just wanted to bring them up because they're red cards and they win the games.
We're talking about the win condition section of the podcast.
Yeah,
that's
there
where
we
they
go.
go.
Are there other red win conditions?
Not that I know of, because
Not
most
really,
decks
right?
that I play, the win conditions aren't in red, I would say.
Right, yeah.
Besides
Atali.
But even then, Food Chain's green.
Food Chain's green and
Food
really.
Chain's green.
Yeah, Food Chain's green. And
Food
really,
Chain's green,
Yeah, but
yeah.
Squeeze part of that Food Chain
Squeeze
win.
part of that Food Chain win. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right, what's the next card you want to talk about?
Mana is another big thing that red gives you. So I figure we should talk about some mana stuff. Yeah.
First one that comes to mind is Rite of Flame.
I think this is kind of like the best one.
I think so. Yeah, it's so weird because like Dark Ritual is so good, and this is like strictly worse than Dark Ritual. Not strictly, obviously. 1 to make 2.
Sometimes 1 to make 3.
It's important to remember that if your opponents have a Rite of Flame in their graveyard, Rite of Flame does see that and it will make another mana. That won't happen often, but it will happen sometimes, and it'll be fucking incredible when it does. Other than that, it's a sorcery, whereas Dark Ritual is an instant, so that's worse. It makes 2 rather than 3,
true,
so that's worse. But realistically, 1 to make 2 +1 rituals are still like pretty good if you're trying to go fast. And Rite of Flame does something weirdly specific, I find, in a lot of decks. It casts Underworld Breach. Which
is really nice.
It turns your Lotus Petal into Rite of Flame into Underworld Breach, and then Lotus Petal's in the graveyard, and I can recast it and off to the races. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very specifically good at casting exactly Underworld Breach, and also other red cards that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but we have to talk about all together. Final Fortune and Warrior's Oath and the extra turn spells. It very specifically casts those things as well.
Red, yeah.
So like, I know that sounds kind of silly, but like it being able to be very purposefully cast like the things that you need, I think that's like a big pull to Rite of Flame.
It's basically just Lotus Petal in your deck. And like, would you ever cut Lotus Petal? Not in most decks.
No, yeah, exactly.
I've heard people not like this card. And I'm like, I think that's crazy.
I think that's crazy. I think +1 mana rituals are very, very powerful. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't know if we'll talk about like Desperate Ritual, and like it's a different story when it's 2 to make 3 versus 1 to make 2.
There is definitely like a big gap there.
There's a gap.
I mean, there's also a big gap between Lotus Petal and this card.
Lotus Petal's far better.
Exactly. But it's still like that extra nudge that you get. And again, like Desperate Ritual and Pyretic Ritual, like they're good in Atali. And they're really good in, which is way more decks that are seeing cEDH play than I thought that would be able to facilitate these 2 cards. Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I've seen Rockside decks play Desperate Rituals before. I don't know that it's particularly right because you're so hungry for like black mana.
But like in Ral, they're Dark Rituals.
They're Dark Rituals,
He turns them into Dark Rituals. Yeah, and Atali is just built around, well, I only need 1 more mana to cast Treasonous Ogre. Right. I need 3 more red pips to cast Geosurge or something like that. So like they set these scenarios up super perfectly. So like the decks that really need red pips can super utilize those. Yeah. They're just not as popular in like the Thrasio strategies that we were talking way more about last week.
Yeah, if you're really trying to go in like the late game stuff, like I could see an argument, but even still, like does Rock Ishai play Rite of Flame? I feel like it probably does because it plays Underworld Breach.
That's a deck that you need to get Rhystic Study out on turn 1. And if there's a way to up my chance of getting Rhystic Study into play or a Smothering Tithe on turn 1.
I'm willing to do that for Rite of Flame, right?
Yeah, I mean, that means I need like land and like Chrome Mox Soul Ring, something. Like, it's going to be a weird hand because of the pips that it's going to require. But like,
even like land, Rite of Flame, Lotus Petal, that's a turn 1 Rhystic Study, right?
Like a way to get any of these other cards that we're talking about today, like out a little bit sooner is insanely important, especially because people don't know that you have this mana. They're looking at your board and they expect, you to be able to produce 5 mana when you have 5 or maybe 6 if they expect a land drop. But they don't expect you to go Rite of Flame, but then you go, oh shit, that's exactly enough more mana that you needed.
Out of the cards we've talked about so far, it's Underworld Breach, then Rite of Flame, gap. Squee, Dualcaster Mage, Grape Shot.
I think Dualcaster Mage is probably better than Squee.
You might be right.
Cubby's gonna hate that. I feel like Cubby loves Squee based on the amount of squeeze that come up. Yeah.
No, you're right. Dualcaster probably, but like if I'm thinking about like the best 10 decks, I guess like does VV play Dualcaster?
I don't know if VV still plays Dualcaster.
I'm pretty sure like Atali is the only deck that plays either of them. Ral doesn't play Dualcaster.
Yeah, because VV doesn't play Twin Flames naturally.
Right,
so I feel like the only reason why you play Dualcaster in Atali is because
you're already playing.
I might as well. I play every fucking copy of Twin Flame.
Yeah, I think realistically they're very close. Dualcaster and Squeezer. Dualcaster does have another mode. It does something else. It could copy and ad nauseum. Squee only wins the game, right? Squee doesn't do anything else.
That's the thing. Yeah, realistically, they're both win conditions that are only seen play in like Atali for the most part. So they can be paired together.
More rituals?
Here's a good ritual. Simian Spirit Guide's a good ritual.
Oh, yeah. If we rated Elvish Spirit Guide, I think it was like the first or second best green card.
Yeah,
right?
it was third.
It was third. Okay.
And going back, I kind of regret putting Finale of Devastation over it.
Really?
I probably think that Elvish Spirit Guide is probably better than Finale, just because I think that that push from 0 to 1,
so huge,
unexpected mana, absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it's certainly better than Rite of Flame. 0 to make 1 is better than 1 to make 2. Although 1 mana doesn't cast Underworld Breach, 2 mana does. But Supreme Spirit Guide is like effectively uncounterable, which is huge. It's instant speed, which is obviously much better than Rite of Flame. It allows you to, in the end step, like a big thing that I like for Rog is, oh, that's the extra red mana that I need to cast Valley Flood Caller. You know what I mean? Like, it can be very helpful for that instant speed aspect of it. It's card disadvantaged, you know what I mean? Like, but like, so are all of these rituals.
So is Lotus Petal.
So is Lotus Petal. You can't reuse it with Underworld Breach like you can reuse rituals and Lotus Petals. It's just once and then it's gone forever. But
and it does hurt off of your ad nauseam
sure,
a little
I
bit.
guess.
Yeah.
I would rather lose 3 life and have it than not lose that 3 life and not have it.
One Treasonous Ogre activation seems fine to me.
Yeah, exactly. So this one's definitely better than Rite of Flame. Still worse than Underworld Breach.
Yeah.
But like, certainly one of the pulls to red is like fast mana. The Spirit Guides are incredibly broken. If we ever get another one in any other color, it's gonna be playable. It doesn't matter. Even if it's colorless, it'll be good.
I've been thinking more about that because we've been talking about how the colorless one would get pushed.
I wish.
I don't know that they would do that either because I didn't really realize that every single deck would get access to
every
it.
single one. And every single deck would play it.
Yeah.
Right? There's
so it's fair.
It's
Never
fair.
mind.
Everyone
Print
gets
that card.
it. Yeah. I think the real issue is it's a standard and modern legal set. I'm sure colorless Spirit Guide would be absolutely broken in modern.
The Simian Spirit Guide got banned.
Yeah.
So it would definitely be broken.
It would be a little worse than that, but like, I don't know.
Now you can Violent Outburst on turn 2 now that guy unbanned again. Yeah.
So, too good. Like, so what?
Print something else that's too good then.
Fire Philosophy. They print cards that are too good all the time. That's part of the whole shtick.
Are we still in Fire Philosophy or do we move
so.
away from Fire Design? I heard
Honestly.
something. I don't know that
Have
we're
we
in
moved
Fire
away from it?
Yeah, we might have because
I don't
maybe
know.
people got pissed off at Fire Design. We're like, we're sick of banning all these cards.
When did we move? Do we move after Nadu? Because I feel like Nadu was kind of recently, but honestly, time is tough for me now. Nadu, you could tell me Nadu was 2 years ago, and I'd believe you.
It's 2026. Nadu was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it definitely didn't come out in 2025.
Certainly not. Yeah,
and it just got hit with the ban hammer in 2024. So
it got banned in 2024. It
Yeah.
got banned like in the same year that it got printed from the stuff.
it did.
Most of the time, right?
It got banned in 2024,
okay.
which is when Mana Crypt got banned.
Has there been another broken card since Nadu that's like absolutely cracked in half in multiple formats? I'm not thinking of one.
There's been scares, like Vivi was a scare.
And
but
there's
I don't
been
know
bans, but like nothing like from like Legacy and Modern that they have had bans.
We would know because I feel like we would be able to rat it off if there
Yeah.
was something else that came up that was like Nadu level worthy of conversating for banning.
New within the last 2 years. I don't really think that there is. I don't.
No, there
So
hasn't
maybe
been,
they have taken a step back a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, Simian Spirit Guide's really good.
And we got some more mana to talk about. Like, I think this is going to start to bridge the gap from the mana section into the anti-meta section then too. Because Jessica's Will kind of plays this role where you get to do both of these things.
Yeah.
Where you not only get to make mana for every single card that the Ristic Study player drew this game, but you also get just like a little bit of an extra peek into your deck to help you push a little bit farther.
Yeah, Jessica's Will is cracked. I feel like it's kind of unmatched in its ability to both make mana and card advantage. It's like the only card that does this, I think, that like actually it goes both ways. It makes both at the same time.
I think so too, because we talk about like Ristic Study wanting to pair with like the Cabbage Merchant or Smothering Tithe, and that's how you get like this combo of card advantage and mana advantage together. But
That's
this
really
does
good.
it in one card.
And oftentimes what you can do with Jessica's Will is feed the Ristic Study a little bit, and then as you get a feel for like maybe they haven't found the interaction just yet, you can fire off the Jessica's Will maybe before they found something, or maybe they don't want to waste their only one precious piece of interaction on your Jessica's Will, knowing that the other win condition is just coming afterwards and that you're just going to be able to jam the Underworld Breach
Oh,
right
you're
afterwards.
only making a bunch of mana and maybe you won't flip into something good.
Right, but like making like 13, 20 mana, like I've done that before off of Jessica's Will, and you go, oh, now the win is super easy. It doesn't matter what you have anymore because I have 20 mana.
I can pay for your Flusterstorm for 8. Yeah.
And that's the big thing is you can pay for futuristic studies after this, okay? You've only drawn 3 cards, but Jessica's Will makes 10 right now. So I'll make 10 mana. I'll cast Underworld Breach. I'll pay for the Ristic Study. I'll cast Lion's Dynamite. I'll pay for the Ristic Study.
It was clear you,
know what I mean?
don't have interaction
you don't have it
before
yet,
this.
And now you won't have it because I'm going to pay for all of them after this.
You can just put out feelers and see what they say too. Because a lot of times players just go, oh, Jessica's Will. Well, I don't have anything for this. I might counter this if I had something for it.
Yeah,
and then everyone else goes, oh, well, I don't have anything for it either. And you go,
I'll write that down.
I'm paying for every Ristic Study after this and I won't feel a thing.
Also, fun things to note about Jessica's Will. If you were to cast Flare of Duplication, copying your Jessica's Will, if you sack your commander as part of the cost of the Flare of Duplication, you're copying the Jessica's Will as it is placed on the stack. And when it was placed on the stack, your commander was there, so it's both modes. So even if you cast Flare of Duplication sacrificing your commander, you still get a second Jessica's Will, both modes.
Even if someone like removes your commander in response to Jessica's Will, thanks for blowing your removal spell on this.
Another thing I've been thinking about recently is since I've been playing a little bit of Ral, Jessica's Will goes infinite with Reiterate. Reiterate, if the Jessica's Will makes 6 mana, you won't net mana this way, but you'll create infinite storm and be able to exile go through your whole deck, which is like basically a win condition.
Because you'll find the Underworld Breach, win condition.
You have to have a lot of mana. You have to have 3 mana for the Jessica's Will, and then an additional 6 mana mana before the Jessica's Will resolve to copy the Jessica's Will with buyback to bounce it back to your hand. And then the copy of Jessica's Will, let's say it makes the 6 mana and it exiles 3 cards, and then you use that 6 mana again to recast the reiterate with buyback, copying the Jessica's Will again, going over and over again. Ral can make this a little bit easier because Ral makes it a little bit cheaper. I like it.
Yeah, so it's like 5 then as a minimum that you need in order to go through your whole deck.
Right.
6 that lets you net mana with a Ral in play. Then,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like Ral could ping you. You could like lose your flips and lose some damage, but you could always like respond to those Ral triggers and make a little bit of extra mana. And then at a certain point, you'll flip your Ral. And then even if you can't keep on going, you'll have the extra mana to keep on going to make a whole bunch more storm.
Or just like go until you find Born Upon the Wind.
Go until you find Born Upon the Wind and then Grape Shot him. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
respond to,
right.
all right, I'm going to respond to all my Ral triggers. Go, 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 go. Find the Born Upon the Wind and the Grape Shot you. And that's the biggest thing that I have with Ral is it creates actual infinite storm. Well, not infinite, but like billions and billions of storm, which means your Grape Shot is a win, which means your Mind's Desire, exile your whole library. Like, you need your Brain Freeze will mill everybody out. Like, the infinite storm part is relevant specifically for Ral, it seems like. I don't know that reiterate Jessica's Will combo, that's not really good anywhere else. Do you know what I mean?
Put that down by Squee.
That goes by Squee and the other whatever,
yeah.
but just like, it's something to note that like in Ral specifically, and other storm decks, I guess,
Jessica's Will lines you can do.
It's also a win condition. It can also actually just straight up win the game besides being like incredibly powerful and good.
It just pulls so much weight in every single deck that can play it. If you even have like the 3 mana commander, I love it in Blue Farm. There's tough times where the pips get a little bit tough when you start to add a couple more colors, but it doesn't really matter. Again, like if you're using it just to be 3 mana to pay for 10 Ristic Studies, that feels great too.
You have to also keep in mind that if you're going all in on an early Jessica's Will, it's important to either already have something to do with the red mana or a way to make the red mana into other colors.
Yeah.
So like if I'm looking at it with Rogsai, if I just have turn 1 Jessica's Will, nothing else, that's not good enough for me.
No, but if you can like follow it up with like a bunch of rocks, I like in Blue Farm, follow up with rocks.
Yeah, if I have like Cabal Ritual and an Arcane Signet, I can cast the Cabal Ritual first, and now when I cast the Jessica's Will, I'm making 7 red and 2 black, and then I have an Arcane Signet in my hand, and I can filter that into another mana. That's something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Or if I can copy it. If I have a Flare of Duplication, 2 Jessica's Will, I'll go in the dark on that. I'll say 2 Jessica's Will out of 6 cards.
That's basically like a wheel with like 14 extra mana that you make.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
That's like fine enough for me. But like,
wow, yeah, that's like wheeling with Smothering Tide in play. That's crazy.
That's really good. But like you do have to have a little bit of a plan. I already have the Breach in my hand. I already have a way to filter some of the red mana into other mana. I already have a tutor that I can cast with the mana, whatever. You have to have a little bit of a plan.
Yeah.
Because I have done that before, certainly, where I go like, okay, let me like go all in. I'm gonna sacrifice my Rograk. I'm gonna cast a ritual, whatever. I'm gonna lose everything for this Jessica's Will, make 7 red mana, exile 3 blue cards, and go, all right, well that was
well, there we go.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a little bit of a plan, but it doesn't make it any less good. It's still an incredibly powerful card.
I think so too. Where do you rank it against like some of the other mana that we talked about today?
It's better than all of them. I think it's better than Simian Spirit Guide and better than Rite of Flame. I think it's like the second best red card, probably, period. That might not be true as we go on down the list a little bit, but I love Jessica's Will so much. It's so unique in what it does. The fact that it goes both ways, the mana and cards, the fact that it can be a winning condition. It's like one of your best draws in Atali. It allows you to like, Atali can mulligan to 3, and with Jessica's Will, you go, okay, well, that's probably a turn 2 Atali now, right? Like,
I need Simian Spirit Guide to do that.
Yeah.
Though. Like, I think I would still want to rate Simian Spirit Guide above
Interesting.
it. Like, to me, like, it's what activates like everything else is like the speed. And well, Jessica's Will like helps you break through a lot of other things. Like, I think the speed is really important.
We can keep them at about the same for now and keep on going.
We'll revisit this.
Revisit. I could see an argument for that. Spirit Guide is very underrated. And oftentimes, we've talked a little bit before, like last week, like the Spirit Guides don't feel like they do a lot. The ceiling isn't crazy high. You know what I mean?
If we can talk about like Jessica's Will ceiling, but I don't want to only judge it by the ceiling. Right. Like there are a lot of floors in Jessica's Will where it looks really good in your hand, or like in a Tali, like, okay, here's a Jessica's Will, but I'm at a 5.
Well, sometimes it's bad because if you're the turbo deck, oftentimes your opponents will mulligan aggressively to try to find something for you. And if you're a turn 1 Jessica's Will only makes 5 mana, well, now it kind of sucks in a Tali.
That's
anything,
the
right?
thing. So like it's not always a reliable way to turn 1 Atali. If I can like, and if I'm going last, it's also terrible for that too. Like I have to keep in mind my seeding order for that as well. Not to say it's not good. Turn 1 Jessica's Will for 4 could also let me get a Geo Surge
or a Treasonous Ogre, whatever.
It wouldn't let me do that either, right? So even just like as a seeding song, this is still a great card.
Whereas the floor for Simian Spirit Guide is pretty high, I would say. It always makes a red mana. It always does exactly what you want it to do. You can always plan and play around it. Whereas like Jessica's Will can surprise you when you go last and everyone dumped their hand and now it makes 2 mana. That sucks.
This is not
Simian
great.
Spirit Guide, it's the plan. It makes a red mana. It does that. There's nothing that stops it, right?
Yeah.
So I could see it being maybe secretly better than Jessica's Will. I like Jessica's Will a lot.
I'm putting them together right now, and maybe we'll do a tie scenario this time. We'll have 2 number 3s instead of a number 2, which is fair. This will be the constipated list.
A lot of stuff getting backed up.
A lot of stuff getting backed up.
Do you want to talk about like the Desperate Ritual and the Pyretic Ritual? Is that worth?
I felt like we talked about
them. 2 to make 3 is good. Ral makes it 1 to make 3. That's really good.
They're worse than Rite of Flame.
They go worse than Rite of Flame. They're around the same ballpark as Squee and Dualcaster Mage. They're good at decks that use them.
They're better than Squee and Dualcaster Mage because there's one more deck that plays them.
At least one more. And it's considerable in some other decks too.
Yeah, and it's Casey Jones.
Yeah. All right, we've talked about those cards.
Great. There's so much else to talk about in Red. It does so much. Should we have talked about Wheel of Fortune as a win condition?
Kind of, because it is sort of a win condition with Underworld Breach, although I feel like I see, and this could be a very big generalization, I see casual Commander players often talking about Wheel of Fortune alongside Lion's Eye Diamond and Underworld Breach being a win condition. I don't like that.
Well, because in casual it is.
In casual it is, and like
because your casual friends spent $900 on a Lion's Eye Diamond.
I guess, I guess. Or like, but like realistically in practice, I find this to be a bad strategy because even though technically you can go infinite this way, giving your opponents draw 7s as you go each time is very risky. Eventually they'll find something and your line cuts it very close. You're not really netting that many cards. So if you resolve a silence first, technically this could be something. And alongside, if you have like Orcish Bowmaster out, technically this could be something. But I don't actually do that actual way to go infinite very often.
It's like a worse grinding station. It's doing the same thing that grinding station's doing where you're limiting yourself on how much of your deck you really get access to. Because every time you go through it, you have to keep exiling things to feed your whole system.
You have to exile 6 cards, 3 for the Lion's Eye Diamond, 3 for the Wheel of Fortune, and then if you're only going 7, you're only netting 1 card. What it does kind of do, and it is helpful in the Breach strategy, I'm not saying that it's not, because it does move cards into the graveyard a lot, and it does help you find the Brain Freeze, or the Grinding Station, or the way to actually go a little bit more infinite. It does do that, that's true, and especially if you've Ristic Study drawed a bunch of cards, and off of your first wheel, I'm going to wheel away 20 and then draw 7, and now the 20 cards, I have the Deflecting Sweat and the Pact of Negation that we talked about, those are there, and the Breach lets me cast them. Like, that can be very, very good, too. Wheel is definitely broken, and I do think it's probably the best wheel effect, right, out of all the ones.
For sure it is, yeah.
Right?
Because it works with Underworld Breach, because it guarantees that you draw 7 cards so that you always get card advantage whenever you do it. It is a win condition in a couple different ways. Like, if you pair it up with something like a Smothering Tithe,
that counts as a win condition.
That counts as a win condition, right? We don't see Notion Thief anymore, but that also would have been a win condition. Orcish Bowmaster is not a win condition. That's just a lot of good value.
It's good if you can multiple times. If you have the Breach already there, and okay, I'm going to cast Wheel 3 or 4 times.
Now
kill the table,
you have
right?
a combo going here, or if you do it on turn 1, I guess that's another way that it's a win condition too.
Yeah, you have to think about, am I going last seed? If I'm going last seed, a turn 1 wheel, that might not be anything.
No, that's bad.
If my opponents dump out all their hands on mana, especially if like Kinnon's going before me and Kinnon dumps their hand out and then I wheel him back up, that's really bad.
Very bad.
You have to consider one Wheel of Fortune, the main thing that it does, you have to have mana afterwards. Like Jessica's Wheel, you need to plan afterwards. Like for Rog, I'm not casting a wheel unless I have at least 2, ideally 3 mana left up after the Wheel of Fortune even resolves, so I can do something with the cards that I draw.
It's like wrathing in a game of casual, where when you wrath and pass, everyone else gets to build their board up before you do.
Right.
It's the same thing with a wheel.
If you wrath and play a big old creature or play something that stops them from playing more creatures, or you have to have a plan for after it goes. It can't just be the only plan. Besides that, it does help with mulligans. If you're a turbo deck and you need to mulligan a lot, sometimes you have to just say, fuck it, this is a 3 and it's a turn 1 wheel. It's a fresh 7. It's a Serum Powder. Serum Powder's a draw 7.
It's not a draw 7.
No, it is. It's a draw 7.
Serum Powder to me feels like
it draws me back up. That can be fine, but that's not nearly what it's best at. What Wheel is best at is make a bunch of mana, 5, 6, 7 mana, cast the wheel with mana afterwards, and then keep on going right away on the spot right now.
Yeah.
That's when Wheel is at its best.
But at the same time, it's also a bad card because there's so many times when you don't want to cast it because it's not actually helpful for you. You'll end up giving the game to somebody else if you cast it, because the worry of, is this going to draw into interaction for my opponents? Are they going to be able to stop me if I wheel now? Like, there's so many different considerations that it ends up also being a hindrance.
It's certainly different than in other 1v1 and Eternal formats because it's not an even thing. In other formats, we both discard, we both draw 7. I have the advantage because it's my turn. I act before you. I made the mana before you. It's very good in that situation. With multiplayer, you draw 7, your opponents draw 21. That's way worse. It's not card advantage. It's strictly disadvantage doing it that way. You're giving your opponents more cards. Like I said, if you have a plan, if you cast the silence first, if you already have a breach in play, if you have one of the payoffs like Smothering Tithe or Orcish Bowmaster, then it's good, but you need that plan to go along with it.
You need to be able to do something with it, yeah. So I think it's probably the worst card that I'm willing to rank on the list so far.
Worst card that still might make the top 10 because it's still very powerful and to draw Tourette. That is for sure true. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so insane with Ral. When it's just 2 mana, it's so much easier to have more mana left over afterwards, especially in Ral if you're trying to do the Reiterate Jessica's Will thing. Sometimes your opponents won't have 7 cards in hand, and this will allow them.
This forces them to.
Forces them to have have 7 cards in hand,
That's
right?
funny,
So there's like
yeah.
other little things like that. I think it's probably certainly worse than Breach.
It's worse than Rite of Flame.
It's
I
worse
have
than
it at the bottom of all the
I
cards
think it's
we
worse
talked
than Rite of
about.
Flame,
Yeah.
worse than Jessica's Will, worse than Spirit Guide, but better than all the other shit that we talked about.
I don't even want to keep bringing up the other shit because we're already 40 minutes into recording and I've wasted so much time talking about all that. And I got so many other cards.
All right, yeah. Let's run through some quick ones.
We got a lot of things in the interaction category.
Okay.
I feel like we actually could have put like interaction on the list of things that Red kind of brings to you because there's a surprising amount of interaction that like I guess I kind of put in like the anti-meta stuff.
The anti-meta stuff, which Wheel of Fortune also is kind of anti-meta-ish. You know what I mean? It can, you've drawn 20 cards from Mystic Study.
Now you don't have any of that.
Now it's 7, which is still less.
Not as good.
We're talking about the blasts.
The blast.
Blasts.
Yeah. Blast, yeah.
These are really good because they destroy Rhystic Study, which is good once it's already in play.
And also protect whatever you're doing.
And they also dispel. You know what I mean? It's a dispel and a disenchant all in one card for our formats. It counters a counter spell, it destroys a Rhystic Study, or it counters a Rhystic Study. I countered a Mystic Remora with one the other day because I was going right after them and I'm ready to win and I don't want you to have that Mystic Remora. Let's just fucking counter that
There we
shit.
go.
I'll
Don't even have
untap,
to worry
right?
about it. Yeah.
The noticeable differences. There's 2 unique differences between Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast.
Absolutely. Do you know them?
I'm pretty positive I know them. Pyroblast can target anything, and it just won't do that thing. If you Pyroblast a Tali, you're allowed to. It can be put on the stack. It adds to Storm. It's a castable target. You're allowed to do it. It just won't do anything. Destroy target spell if it's blue, or counter target spell if it's blue. Whereas Red Elemental Blast says destroy a blue permanent, or counter a blue spell.
Absolutely.
You can only put a Red Elemental Blast on the stack if there's a blue thing to target.
So this makes it a little bit different where like if you want to deflecting swat a Red Elemental Blast, you have to redirect it to another blue target, which means that there's some players you're not going to be able to disrupt with it then.
Yeah, I had a situation in a test hand video that I posted the other day where I had Red Elemental Blast in my hand and I needed there to be a Mystic Remora on board so that I could cast it on something that was on board and give 7 cards in my graveyard to turn on Threshold for Cabal Ritual.
Interesting, yeah.
Whereas if that was a Pyroblast, I could fucking target anything, get it into the graveyard for my 7th card, cast Cabal and make 5 mana.
Interesting.
Right? I feel like those are the 2 big differences between the 2. The deflecting swat thing, whereas Red Elemental Blast is harder to deflecting swat, and Pyroblast is better for storming. You can target anything.
Yeah.
If you have Bolas' Citadel, you can cast Pyroblast off the top of your library to get it out of there and cast it on nothing, and it doesn't matter.
I don't know that any of these things are like a reason to play one over the other. I think you really should just be playing both in your red decks. Even if you're like in 4-color red decks, I think playing both is really getting to be the way to go.
If you want to play one, you play both, certainly. There are certain decks that are just like barely red, and maybe they just like don't really want the extra red stuff or whatever. But I'm
like
kind of
Thrasios Rajarak is like the only deck that can get away
Yeah,
with it.
exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, because you're just not playing red spells or whatever. But if you're playing one, I do think it's important to play both.
I think a lot of the blue farm lists are on both now too.
Just because it's so good against the Rhystic Study shit. Blow up the Rhystic Study when you're ready to win, or use it as a counter spell to stop one of their things or whatever. I use it in Rockside all the time of like, I've drawn a bunch of cards, I'm in my end step, there's a Rhystic Study there. I don't want to draw you 30 cards while I go through my win. So I'm going to Pyroblast your Rhystic Study right now and then go for my win afterwards. It's perfect for that.
It's perfect for all that.
Better than Wheel?
I think they're better than Wheel.
Wheel is still good, and I think it's like worse than Jessica's Will. It's close to Rite of Flame.
Because there's a lot of red decks that like don't need Wheel. I play Wheel in Itali because like it's great in tournaments to like force draws if I need to, or I play Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond, right? So like if I'm already super ahead, it doesn't matter, but I don't necessarily love it in that deck. Whereas every single red deck is going to get great use out of the blasts.
Except for the decks that don't, like Rock Thrash. But Rock Thrash also doesn't play Wheel of Fortune.
That's a mana situation.
A very, very unique specific situation.
They're basically not a red deck, those red versions.
Is there a deck that wouldn't play? If you're in red, I feel like so far you play all of these cards. You're playing Underworld Breach, Jessica's Will, Spoon Spirit Guide, Rite of Flame, Blasts, and Wheel of Fortune.
You know what? If you're in red,
you're
you're playing all of them, but if you're in Thrasios Rograk,
you're playing
the only one of
Breach.
these that you're playing is like Underworld Breach and Simian Spirit Guide.
I'm not playing Simian Spirit Guide and Rock Thrash. There's just nothing to use the red mana on.
A lot of them don't play Breach either.
Yeah. I think they're both better than Wheel.
I think they're both better than
Which is
Wheel.
kind of weird to say out loud. I could be wrong about that, but I think they're both better than Wheel. I would rather have them, I don't know. And like ROG, the wheels are so important to the strategy because it's gas. It's like something else to do, which is super important.
I'm trying to think of it like as the format as a whole, as opposed to just like one deck and
specific
honing
decks.
in on it. If it's the top 10 in the whole format.
It's a ceiling floor situation too. Wheel facilitates wins. Pyroblast and Red Blast allow you to protect your win. It's kind of hard to compare them because like without the win attempt, the blasts don't do anything. You know what I mean?
The last time I cast Wheel of Fortune, I had a Hexing Squelcher in play and felt so safe, but I wheeled my opponent into Mindbreak Trap.
The floor on Wheel of Fortune is bad.
It is very bad, yeah. And then you just give the win to someone else who just has 7 fresh cards.
Higher ceiling, lower floor. I want consistency over higher ceiling, low floor. Is that true? Now that I say that out loud.
You know what the floor of the blast is?
They don't do anything.
There's nothing in play.
They don't do anything,
and there's no blue in my
Wheel
mind.
gives you a glimmer of hope. Maybe this will be good.
Maybe this will be good.
Maybe Wheel's better.
Maybe Wheel is better.
Maybe Wheel is better because with a format like cEDH where you're looking for very specific, powerful things, you want more opportunities to find those things.
I don't want to interact. I want to win the game.
I want to win the game. Pyroblast can help you destroy the Rhystic Study to allow you to win the game, but without the actual win attempt, they don't really do anything. I think Wheel's better.
What if there's just no Rhystic Study in play either?
Then great. We discard them to Wheel of Fortune, an extra card in our graveyard we have to spend mana on.
Boom. There we go. All right. Well, I just brought up Hexene Squelcher, which is another one of these meta buster things.
New kid on the block.
Which I think insane. So far.
Yeah. Dude, it's so fucking good.
Weirdly enough, one of the strongest things that it does is let you pass the turn and counter things uninteractably so.
Your counter spells are uncounterable. You're going for a win, I'm going to counter it. You can't counter it back. Yeah.
I think that's some of like the strongest times that I felt playing the card. It does feel like you're really safe like when it's in play and your stuff can't be countered, but still like a worse Voice of Victory if you're trying to win the game because it's easy to remove it in play still.
Yeah, that's the big difference is like you can just kill the goblin, but with like Voice of Victory, once the voice resolves, you can't kill it. You can't cast any spells anymore, right? But voice doesn't do anything on your opponent's turn. And in a Rhystic Slop world, Hexene Squelcher allows you to win at instant speed uncounterably.
So it kind of lets you go both ways. You get to be protective with it and not be stopped that way.
Yeah.
And you get to win the game with it and not be stopped that way.
I think Hexene Squelcher is just so powerful. And we've talked a lot about like the combinations with Vexing Bobble where you make your free spells uncounterable and then it doesn't matter. You can just like still cast your free spells through with Hexene Squelcher because your stuff is uncounterable, but then their stuff still gets countered with the Vexing Bobble.
Or how about if you're trying to do a sneaky thing with an offer you can't refuse?
Right, exactly.
And then my Chromox is still going to resolve, but it also makes me 2 more mana.
There's so much that you can do with it both ways.
Sorry, Courtney's calling me. I just need to make sure it's not an emergency. Okay, I'll call you back. Okay. It's not an emergency.
Okay. Hexene Squelcher has like very quickly become, I think, one of the strongest red cards in the format. I think it's probably better than Wheel and the Blasts. I think it's probably better than Rite of Flame. Although Rite of Flame, again, showing why it's so powerful because off of 1 mana, you can cast Rite of Flame to cast the Hexene Squelcher.
True.
I mean, it just does so much more. It's hard with Simian Spirit Guide. You know what I mean? Like Simian Spirit Guide just does the one thing. I think it's probably better than Simian Spirit Guide. It's like, that's a card that came out in the last 2 years that's incredibly broken and powerful.
Yeah, there we go. Hexene Squelcher.
Right,
yeah. Because this does definitely change the way like the whole game is played. I mean, not to the point where like it's fucking up a bunch of other formats or something like that, like the way that Nadu was, but it's definitely game warping when it comes out.
It is one of the few red cards that Rogthras is willing to play in a deck that is otherwise basically not red at all.
When they don't have any other silence effects that they have access to. Like having access to this seems really strong.
And it's a little buddy. You can cast it with, you can find it with Court of Calling. You know what I mean? It's another creature for Gaia's Cradle. Instant speed is really good with this.
I'll give you that. I think it's better than Jessica's Will and Simian Spirit Guide.
It's probably the second best card in the format, which is a little bit strange to say. It came out so recently and all it does is protect, but it like that protection is so valuable.
You need to be able to win the game. It's so hard to win a game of cEDH through sloppy shit.
Yeah.
And this just like letting you push through those, I think is just super important.
It's really good against the Rhystic Study. Draw all the cards you want. It doesn't matter. My shit's uncounterable.
We mentioned Deflecting Swat a little bit today, so we should probably talk about this one too.
This one is so important. The fact that this can redirect the target of abilities, not just spells, is huge.
That's huge. Yeah, not a lot of these effects are able to do that, and a lot of the ones that are able to redirect abilities to cost at least 1 mana to be able to do. So the fact that this is free in all of the decks that see play with it is insanely helpful. We already talked about how good it is at like protecting your Underworld Breach from Beseiju. It's just so good at like stacking interaction for everything too, and can stop combos from other people that they don't expect you to be able to stop. Like Kiki,
you know, whatever.
Emil, make them blink something that is not their Derevi for the Gaia's Cradle untap, and that like puts a wrench in their plan. A lot of times it just needs to be like Time Walk like that for you to buy 1 turn and then you can win the game yourself.
A little trick you can do it with Necro. If you are Necro Potencing and you put a bunch of triggers on the stack to exile those cards, you can resolve them 1 at a time, put them each in your hand 1 at a time, and you can hold priority on that final trigger. You're technically allowed to Deflecting Swat that trigger. It won't do anything, but if you had an offer you can't refuse in your hand, you now have a free spell that you can put on the stack and counter it with an offer you can't refuse, making 2 treasures at instant speed in your end step. That sounds very like niche and specific. As a Rockside player, I think you're kind of supposed to do that every time. Respond on the last Necro trigger and see if you can make a quick 2 extra treasures in the end step, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
You can cast Deflecting Swat on anything. This is a great thing for Atali too. If I spit into Deflecting Swat, I'll still cast it. Maybe I won't if I think the Underworld Breach player might untap and win. But if I can't win. But like
if you have Reonia in play, that's another spell that I can cast targeting my thing or whatever.
Same thing with Pyroblast. If there's seemingly no reason to cast it off of your Atali, build building up your storm is still worthwhile.
I think Deflecting Swat is certainly the best interaction that red has to offer. Some of the best interaction that is in the entire format. I think it's probably better than Wheel, better than Blasts. I think it's probably
better than Rite of Flame.
Probably better than Rite of Flame. It's one of the main appeals. Realistically, there's an argument that it's better than Breach, which is not true. But like Rog Thrash, oftentimes the decks that don't play Underworld Breach, which a lot of them do, but even the decks that don't, they still play Deflecting Swat. Even if you can't make red mana, it's free. It's free, so fucking good.
Yeah.
I think it's worse than Underworld Breach, but I do think it's the second best card that we've talked about.
Better than Hexing Squelcher.
I think so, because it gets around Hexing Squelcher, even though like not in like a super relevant way.
When it would stop a player from winning the game, it was able to get around
through the Hexing Squelcher, right? Like
I'll put Deflecting Swat as number 2. It's weirdly better than Fierce Guardianship in the same cycle of cards, but I feel like just because of the range that it has of different things it can do, like Fierce Guardianship is so replaceable. Whereas this is just like its own brand of uniqueness that other stuff tries to do but can't ever be as good as.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about earlier when you're going through the breach lines. Like oftentimes, like the things that you need to make sure that you are safe against anything is like Deflecting Swat. If Deflecting Swat is there, I don't care about Endurance. I don't care about Beseiju. I don't care about these things that Fierce Guardianship can't stop. Other counter spells have a hard time stopping, whereas Deflecting Swat can do that.
Exactly, yeah. Final Fortune
and like Warrior's Oath and what's the other one? The other sorcery speed
Last Chance.
Very good. Final Fortune way better because instant speed versus sorcery.
Yeah, I think that one has a chance of making it into our top 10.
I think so too.
They're all really good with Necropotence.
They're all really good with Necropotence. The Final Fortune is specifically better, obviously, because you can find it in your big group of cards, whereas the other ones you have to have beforehand, but still very good. Think about it like it's Explore, and Explore is not good enough, but it's draw a card, put an extra land into play. That's oftentimes what it'll be. How many times have you heard players say, I just needed one more turn? This gives you that one more turn. And if you're going to win the game, it doesn't matter that you would have lost the game. The flavor text says it right there, whatever the reminder text. You don't lose if you've already won.
That's so funny, yeah. And it's not even like just Explore, though, because a lot of times it like actually nets you 5 or 6 mana because you're untapping all your lands, all your mana rocks have to untap.
Yeah, you're right.
It feels like a Dramatic Reversal and an Explore stapled on top of each other.
Yeah, you're right. It's not only just the land drop that you make. You also get to untap the 3 lands that are in play. The Soul Ring gets to untap. The Talisman gets to untap. It can make 5 mana, draw you a card, give you an extra land drop, give you that extra shot of winning the game. Final Fortune in particular is so good, and I think it should probably go in like just about all red decks, realistically.
It's not in a tally because it's not always a good flip, although a lot of times it's just like, well, maybe I can win on my next turn. Like I'm going to lose if I pass anyway, so I might as well. I've thought about it a lot in a tally.
A tally is kind of unique because like the giving you the more mana thing, like you just need the 7 mana kind of. I feel like with Rog's side, like it works like you're casting multiple things with that 5 mana that you're getting, so it's a little bit different.
I think there's a lot of times where like you could keep a hand that could get a tally out on turn 3 really nicely, but you don't want to because that's too slow, whereas like this kind of gives you a little bit of wiggle room to make that turn 3 hand actually be a turn 2 hand, which is not a guaranteed win, which is also very scary, and the same reason why I have not committed to that Summoner's Pact thing yet either. I feel like if you're trying to go all in on something like that, I think that's a good way to go.
Common play pattern that I see in Rogsai a lot is be able to on turn 2 get a Necro and 2 red mana in play, but that's it. And then you get the Necro, you cast an extra turn spell right away, you go right to your 3rd turn before your opponents have had a 3rd turn, and now in your end step, you're going to have the 5 mana that you need for the Born Upon the Wind, so you just fill them up and draw right away. It's obviously super powerful with Necropotence, and both of them are, but
Final Fortune in particular, even being able to find you windows after other people's turns.
In between people's turns.
And
in between
then
2
you
and
get
3,
a turn.
I go, excuse me.
Yeah, that's cracked when you can do that.
You don't play it in Italia. I'm playing Ral. Most of the Ralists don't play it there either because in Ral, you're trying to build up a storm. I want to win. I have to win now because my storm is 15 now.
What are you going to do? Reset your storm?
Tomorrow, next turn. It's not going to be that, right? So like there are situations where like you definitely don't play it. And it's certainly, I would say out of the good red cards, it's one of the worst red cards because it's risky. If they silence you in your upkeep on your extra turn,
that
that
happen
fucking
a
sucks.
lot. Yeah.
That can happen. You know what I mean? That fucking sucks.
Wild.
Like you said earlier with the brain freeze thing, if you're on your extra turn, you can't just brain freeze your opponents and pass a turn and they lose on the draw steps.
You can't just tally food chain them. Yeah.
Right, you need to do something else then. So it is limiting in some ways, but still very, very powerful.
Is this worse than the Red Blast?
Probably just barely worse than the Red Blast, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Still very good, and definitely a big pull to red is these extra turn spells. No other really color gets those. There's one that I always think, the red-white one. What's the red-white one? That's 3 mana, but it's instant speed.
Chance for
Glory. I think that card should be a blue farm card. I honestly think about that one a lot, of like being like very powerful in blue farm, of like that instant speed extra turn spell is so powerful, and like 3 mana is a lot more than 2 mana. That's certainly true, but in the mid game when you're making a lot of mana, I don't know. It seems really good.
The instant speed in nature of Final Fortune is what makes it good. Like I don't want to play Last Chance or Warrior's Oath in most decks because I don't want to like have to worry about it at sorcery speed. Like I want the window creation. I want it to work with Necro specifically. Chance for Glory is in that same spot of like, well, no, it's the instant speed that makes it good. Like I want the the same effect. Instant speed is the same effect. The sorcery speed is not the same effect.
The instant speed is what you're looking for there. Certain decks like Roxai can still use it and doesn't matter because your deck is just so primed to win or whatever.
But like maybe Rog Ishai might want Chance for Glory.
Right, yeah, maybe.
What about Bergie?
Bergie. Oh, this is another Jessica's Will type card that it can go both ways.
Kind of both ways-er, where you can either use it on the front side to be your heuristic study machine, where you're always paying for heuristic study after your first Bergie trigger.
Right, yeah.
Because the problem is Bergie trigger happens, but it always happens after the heuristic study.
It doesn't always.
It happens before.
If it's your turn, it does.
Yes, which is when it matters.
Which is when it matters. But if you are going on an opponent's turn, triggers work really weird. They go on the stack in order starting from the active player. They don't go on the order from you.
So if you are in seat 1, there's a heuristic study in seat 2, let's say. Every time you cast a spell on your turn, their heuristic study triggers before your Bergie. But then on their turn, whenever you cast a spell, their heuristic study triggers, and then your Bergie triggers. So you'll make the Bergie red mana, and then the heuristic study goes off so that you can pay for it. So if you're being interacted with, that sucks. But if you are interacting in that scenario, then you're good.
I'm pretty sure that's the case. Either way, it's helpful at paying for heuristic study, which is definitely super awesome. I love it in Rog because sometimes when your ad naus is bad, but you can make 5 mana, well, I still have 30 cards in my hand that I can discard each of them for 2 mana. Like that, it's effectively a win.
That's the thing. The Harnfell, the Horn of Harnfell, or whatever that is, that card is also insane. Not only does it fuel your Underworld Breach, because I feel like a lot of these cards are like exile a card to be able to do this, but it's discard. You still have free access to all of those cards that you are getting rid of to find more things. I love it in Atali because you can spin into the backside, which is also amazing.
When you reveal it off of a Atali cast, you can cast it for either side, front side or back side, which is pretty nice.
Whichever one's better for you.
In the heuristic study slop world, we're like, yes, the mana could be good there, but also the backside, if I'm drawing a bunch of cards, okay, some of these are going to be lands. Every land that I draw, that's 2 more cards that I can maybe find a counterspell to stop you from winning the game. It goes so many different directions, so powerful.
It's so great. Yeah, I love this card. It's weird because like I feel like it's a card that always lets you go on turn 3 then.
Yeah.
You kind of want to be winning on turn 2 in the decks that play it.
Right.
You for sure as hell win on turn 3.
Right, yeah. The dream situation is obviously mana mode on turn 1, and then on turn 2, cast a few spells, cast your payoff, and then afterwards, your payoff gets you dream. But it's a little more feasible to have that set up on turn 2 and then to turn 3.
That's not like the best hand to keep, but I feel like those are the hands that I see it kind of work out. But at the same time, if you're able to keep like a hand with Bergie interaction and a turn 3 push, I feel like that's a pretty good way to go then.
Definitely.
I think this is probably one of the better cards. I would think that this is probably better than the Red Blast in Wheel of Fortune and probably Rite of Flame.
And then where are we at? Like Deflecting Swat World?
Jessica's Will and Simeon's Spirit Guide.
Close to Jessica's Will.
I feel like it is kind of close to Jessica's Will.
I like Jessica's Will more. Jessica's Will, it goes both at the same time. Bergie's one or the other.
It's one or the other, yeah.
I think it's just underneath Jessica's Will, but very close. In like a Storm deck like Ral, that make a mana every time you cast a spell, that's insane. Like that's so important.
Especially like with Atali too. Now every time I re-Atali, here's 4 more mana. Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
Is it better than Simeon's Spirit Guide?
Probably not.
Simeon's Spirit Guide and J Will are still tied.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
was like, damn, I don't know if maybe this would like help us figure out something there.
Yeah, I rate that ability, that 0 to make 1 so strongly.
It's so high.
Just under.
What about Gamble?
Gamble's good.
Gamble's really good.
Gamble's very powerful. Tutors is what red does worse.
See Gamble as an example.
Right, yeah, Gamble's bad. But 1 mana tutor is fucking crazy.
I feel like it's not a pull to red, but if you're already in red because you're playing Underworld Breach, like it's a card that goes insanely well with Underworld Breach. Like red is kind of parasitic in that if you want to play red, all of the red cards are going to go with each other. They're all going to go great. But if you are not interested in playing red, you don't need to miss it, right? Like if you're not interested in playing Underworld Breach, like there's so much other stuff that you won't miss.
Rog Thras is kind of interesting. Like if it does play red cards, the 2 red cards that it plays are Underworld Breach and Gamble, like actual castable pips.
Yeah.
Like, those are the 2 red cards that you play. It's so good with Underworld Breach because it's basically 1 mana demonic tutor at that point. It doesn't matter if it goes to the graveyard. So
with
good.
Heuristic Study, it's 1 mana demonic tutor, basically.
Yeah, you have 20 cards in your hand. It's so unlikely that you're going to discard the 1 card that you found, right? And then sometimes when you need it to be 1 mana Entomb, it is that. When you want Squeen in your graveyard, it's fine. When you want Electric Duplicate in your graveyard, it's great. You know what I mean? When you want to find Savine's Reclamation anyway, it's really good at that. It's like all these red cards, you need a plan. You need to have something that like, what if it goes wrong? How does that work?
Yeah, can I still piece something together if I have to discard one of the things? Because a lot of times like your Gamble hand also means that like, well, I need one of these other things in my hand too. So it's not really like 1 out of these 4 cards that are going to just get discarded is going to be an Entomb. It's going to feel like sometimes sometimes maybe 2 of the 4 cards because I need the other land that's in my hand as well to make this work.
And it's also, I think it's important to think about like when you don't need those other cards in your hand and you're just casting the gamble and you just need to find the thing. Say you have 4 cards in your hand with the gamble. Yeah, there's a 25% chance that you don't get there, but there's a 75% chance that you do.
That's a sleep powder.
And 75%, yeah, that's a sleep powder. Like 75% chance that you win the game is high odds. Your odds before that were 25% because there's 4 players. So like if this resolves in your favor, you win the game. 75% chance is really good odds. You should take those odds.
I take those odds. Yeah,
Right?
I take the 66% odds all the time
Right.
too. I love those.
Like, yeah, there's 3 cards in my hand. Yeah, there's a third of the time I'm going to lose this game, but 2/3 of the time, which is more than 1, I'm going to win the game.
I'm gonna win,
I'm
yeah.
going to go for it, right? Yeah.
If I have no other options, I'm taking the 50-50 odds
Right,
too.
exactly, yeah. So I think this one's really powerful. We're getting close now where like this weirdly might be better than Simian Spirit Guide and Jessica's Will, but I don't know that I'm confident on saying that.
Yeah.
Is
The
Deflecting
effect's
Swat is still better than these,
strong.
right?
Deflecting Swat's better than that. Hexing Squelcher's better than that right now.
I think it's around Hexing Squelcher. 1 mana tutor to hand, even with the random discard, is still just so strong.
I think it's only because tutors are so important.
Tutors are so important because cEDH is 99 card singles
Yeah.
game, right? We need like the consistency is key.
Gamble just like shores up wins for you.
Yeah.
Jessica's Will is not a guaranteed win.
And like it's the same with a lot of these cards we talked about. Like they could backfire. Most of these red cards could backfire pretty badly. Jessica's Will can backfire.
That's part of red. Red, it's
Yeah.
like with the rock type attacks in Pokemon.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, they can miss.
Maybe that's why Simian
Maybe that's
Spirit Guide
why-
is better than Jessica's Will because it can't backfire.
It's always
It's always red
going
mana.
to do what you need.
It's always going to do what you need it to do.
Plus, people can respond to Jessica's Will and go, "Oh, well, you thought I had this many
Right.
cards in hand. Well, I'm just going to get rid of a Simian Spirit Guide."
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Now your
red
math
blast
is
something.
off.
You
Yeah.
go, now it's Jessica's Will for 3 instead of 5.
I think Simian Spirit Guide's better than Jessica's Will. I think Gamble might be better than Jessica's Will and worse than Simian Spirit Guide.
I think I like where this is going. It's Simian Spirit Guide and then Gamble.
Yeah.
And then Jessica's Will.
I think so. It's hard. I
This
mean,
is very
all
hard,
these cards
yeah.
are like basically the same power level. It's so
Yeah.
hard to rate them.
I have 2 more now.
2 more. Let's go.
Ragavan the Nimble Pilferer's one.
So good. I love Ragavan.
I love Ragavan too. I love him sometimes.
I love him on
Yes.
turn 1, and I love him if I'm seed 1 or seed 2. Seed 4,
I
he
hate
gets
him
worse.
in every other scenario.
Seed 4, he gets worse. The dash part is good. People have to respect the Imperial Seal Tutor.
The dash part is a good option. It never feels good because you're always going down on mana for that turn, and you can never feel like you get access to whatever card you're flipping over. So it's like very specific. I'm already ahead, and I want to get another attack in with Timna scenarios,
Yeah.
I think. However, just the fact that it makes a treasure synergizes with like every Dargo deck in the world and
Yep.
like every other deck that wants to play the Stormkill Artist and all these other like treasure builds that we've been talking about a little bit more recently. Like
Yeah.
the fact that it's 1 mana and can make you treasures makes it way better than a lot of the other mana dorks that we were talking about last week too.
I like that it goes both ways. It's part of the same reason why Bergie and Jessica's Will is so strong is that
Yeah.
technically it does sort of give you card advantage sometimes, not reliably. Your mulligan decision, I wouldn't think like, oh, Ragavan will give me something.
I don't need Mystic Remora
You know what I
because
mean?
I have Ragavan.
But
yeah.
I do like in Rockside, it can put you in situations where like oftentimes like, oh my, if I flip a Mox Diamond, I can win now, whereas I wasn't able to before.
It's
like,
kind of like a roulette, like, right? You just scratch off whatever the top card
Right.
of your opponent's library is, and like sometimes you won't get anything, but sometimes you get something good.
in decks that are extremely explosive, kind of getting anything can be huge. You know what I mean? Like in a slower deck, getting a Mox Diamond, that might not really change things that much. Yeah, get a little ramp, but if you're not winning right now, it doesn't matter. Whereas like all the Rograk decks like Ral, like if I get one more little piece of mana right now, that changes the whole equation. I might be able
Yeah.
to win now, right?
It kind of ends up feeling like a 1 mana Jessica's Will that spreads itself out over 2 or 3 turns
Yeah.
and then stops working from there.
And at a certain point stops working.
Because
yeah.
people get another 2 toughness or 3
Yeah.
toughness creature into play, and you're like, oops. Or people get Orcish Bowmaster into play, and you're like, well,
Oops.
there that
Yeah.
goes. Or someone taps their Forbidden Orchard, and you go, shoot, okay.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Sisay a ton in this one, but like Ragavan being a red legendary thing is pretty relevant for Sisay
None
because
of these have been great Sisay
No,
cards.
the reason why this one is particularly good is because there are not many red legends that are good in Sisay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like they're few and far between, and the ones that make mana like this and Ruby, I feel like are super important in that deck because it gives you that 5th color pip where like Sisay is barely a red deck. It really doesn't play that many red cards.
It's
but
just the activation.
it is important for the color pips for Sisay. So
Yeah.
I would say that's another reason why Ragavan's pretty good.
But how good is Ragavan, really?
Realistically, what's a red deck that doesn't play it? Can you think of one?
I bet there's some red decks that don't play it.
Think of one.
Rogthras.
Rockthrash, yeah.
But Atali plays it, and Atali doesn't love it.
But like Rockthrash doesn't play Simian Spirit Guide also.
Yeah,
So
but this is way worse than Simian Spirit
Is
Guide.
it?
Like,
I don't
Simian
know.
Spirit Guide is on the entire game. Like,
I agree.
Mana Dorks could, in theory, be on the entire game.
Right, yeah.
This is reliant on you having like a specific opponent at the table that does not even want their commander in play or something.
You're right. Yeah, the floor is much, much, much lower on this one.
Yeah, I'd rather draw into Llanowar Elves than Ragavan.
Yeah.
I want it to make mana. I don't want it to go down on mana for the turn.
And the fact that I also want to say the fact that it is a creature that I can Flare of Duplicate away and copy something. It's a red creature. That's pretty good. The fact that it turns on Mox Amber is also a weird thing that is pretty good.
Those are two weird things. I don't love giving it credit for them because like in those decks, Rograk is always turning those things on anyway. And like it is nice to have a second one.
Right? Like that's really good.
It's one card out of your 99 that is comboing with that. So it's like having, I was watching this video about how bad Yugi Moto's deck was in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And it really put into perspective how bad the polymerizations are because you need two things already in play to make one thing that's like only slightly better.
Right,
and a lot of times those other two things required other things for you to get out. So you create these 3-card combos to make one thing that's like slightly a little bit better. I think that's kind of like what happens here.
Definitely what happens here. But with the turbo decks, that little bit of edge is a big deal. That's a huge difference.
It could be enough.
In a deck like Blue Farm, that's much less important. Whereas in a deck like Rogside, the fact that I'm able to Culling the Weak my Rograk away and then Flare of Duplication the Ragavan to copy it or something, that's like big.
Maybe that's why I got Blue Farm brain and not Rogside brain. Yeah.
I still think it's worse than Rite of Flame. Maybe?
And Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, it's worse than Wheel of Fortune.
Well, they both are bad at a lot of points in the game. Wheel of Fortune and Ragavan.
Yeah, they're both bad at certain points in the game.
And then after Wheel of Fortune is Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast.
I think it's worse than those.
So do I. And I think it's worse than Final Fortune.
For Rogside, Final Fortune is necessary. Ragavan's not.
Ragavan is not necessary in any deck.
It's like it's good. It's gravy. It's good.
This will help me make mana, and because I need more mana.
Final Fortune is like I need it.
It doesn't turn your Mox Opal on turn 1,
right?
In the way that you want it to. When you want Mox
Unless
Opal
you dash it out, but you're spending 2 mana to turn your Mox Opal.
How the hell? Yeah, like
right,
that's
worse, right?
You didn't care about Mox Opal that whole time.
But if you like land Chrome Mox, dash in Ragavan, treasure Mox Opal.
Now you have the same amount of mana as you had before you dashed out Ragavan, and now you have to put Ragavan back in your hand.
No, because you make the treasure right away.
Now you have.
But you turn on Mox Opal on turn 1 that way.
I guess all I'm saying is on your turn 1, you have the same amount of mana as if you didn't dash Ragavan. Because you had to spend 2 mana on dashing Ragavan, and now post-dash, you have 2 mana again.
Right, yes. Yeah,
you're going to your next turn with 4, which is really good.
As long as you don't use the treasure, you go
As long as you don't use the treasure,
right,
yeah.
Right.
But if you have a follow-up to the dashed Ragavan, why didn't you just do that?
What's after Wheel?
It was Wheel, the Blast, Final Fortune.
And what's after Final Fortune?
Ragavan.
Is there anything else before that?
Junk that I'm not keeping track of anymore.
Okay, yeah. I think Ragavan's better than Junk, but I think it's worse than the good cards.
Wow, what a gap.
There's all these cards, there's Junk.
Yeah, Ragavan's better than Squee the Immortal.
I feel confident there.
There we go, yeah. Most right thing we've said. Our last card then is Flare of Duplication, while we're talking about Flare of Duplication.
Yeah,
this is the last one that I was thinking of. I don't know if this is top 10 worthy. I feel like I should have talked about it way earlier and had it shoved down the list, I feel
Maybe.
Like,
I mean, this card, I like that it can copy my own ritual, and I can also copy your counter spell. I like that it attack and protect. I think that's really good.
Here's where it loses me games all the time. I don't play it, but in my opponent's deck, when they flare someone else's ad nauseum, they flare a second opponent's ad nauseum. I'm never winning that game.
Dude, I had a game the other day where it was 3 Rogside decks, and I cast ad nauseum, and this deck flares my ad nauseum, and the other Rogside flusterstorms both of the things. And I was like,
that's so funny. Yeah.
It felt so bad.
Man.
None of us won that game. The third deck won the game because all of the 3 Rogside players just fucking, you know what I mean?
It's like solidarity, brothers.
Yeah, Flare is good. It's another card that I do see a lot in the Rog Thras decks. They don't play a lot of red cards, but they play Flare.
Because it's free in their deck.
Free. Free is such a huge boost. You know what I mean? It kind of doesn't matter what it does. Free is just insane. And the decks that need it, it's so good.
But I just cut it from Atali. We've been talking about cutting it from Atali. Although, is Ral on it? Are you on it in Ral?
I'm on it in Ral. Yeah, it's just a free spell.
Sacrificing Ral is a
You
big
never want
cost.
to do that. But if I can sack the Ragavan...
It feels like a huge cost.
If the result is I get to flip Ral because of that, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'll sacrifice... It doesn't matter what I sacrifice. The fact that I
Bergie did her job.
If I flip with a Ral, then who cares? I think it's really good. I think it's probably better than Final Fortune. Free is so good.
You can keep stupid hands because of this card.
Because of Flare. Like,
it's like I can sacrifice like my Rograk and like copy someone's tutor too.
Right.
Like, that also seems really good.
It's good on a low mulligan sometimes, like because like surely somebody else will cast something good that I can copy.
Yeah. Would you rather have it over a Red Blast or Pyroblast?
No, right? Because Red Blast and Pyroblast can destroy. They can counter or they can destroy. I think I like the Blast more.
You can't copy a Rhystic Study on the stack with this.
Right. And also, like, the same thing I said about Ragavan with Final Fortune is true here. Was like Final Fortune is necessary for the decks that play it, whereas Flare isn't necessary. But like, I'm almost at the point now where I'm thinking free interaction kind of is necessary. The turbo decks are too good. You need a ways to stop them. It's one of the reasons why Rog Ishai, I think, is playable is because I think you get to play Flare of Duplication.
It gives you another out to having like a turn one piece of interaction that like a lot of other decks don't have access to, so you can stay alive.
Right. And like, what's better than countering ad nauseum? Copying it.
That's true, yeah.
Like, I would much rather do that. I think it's better than Final Fortune, but I'm still unsure if it's better than the Blasts.
I almost want to put it better than the Blast so that we don't have to figure out which Blast is better. They're both coming in at the number 10 slot.
I think that they are such a big pull to red. I gotta say Flare is gonna be worse than them.
I think in my heart of hearts, I want to say that too.
Yeah.
The only reason why I want to put Flare of Duplications higher is because we have 2 cards at the number 10 slot.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that it's better, so let's stick to gut.
I have a couple of honorable mentions that we don't have to spend time on, but we didn't talk about yet. Professional Facebreaker, another both ways card, makes mana, can also turn that treasure into cards. I really like that.
Really good in the Timna decks.
Really good in Timna decks, but it's slow.
Yes, exactly.
Stormkilling Artist is crazy in the decks that can use it.
I only didn't put this one on here today because it hasn't proven itself yet.
Yeah.
It's a new piece of tech that's been around for a long time.
Yeah. It's like the Bergie aspect where it allows you to get treasures inside of the Rhystic Study fight. Do you know what I mean? Which is really good.
It's just a little bit more expensive, and you still need more things in order for it to pay off.
But when you cast Flusterstorm on somebody else's thing with the Stormkilling Artist out and you make 10 treasures in the process,
you shit your pants.
Oh, God.
You
shit your pants.
It always smells after I do that. Yeah.
Stormkilling is crazy good in the decks that can play it, but I don't think that it's like a top 10 pull to red.
Although, if the format keeps like moving in this direction, I could see that changing.
Those are the only honorable mentions that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. There are, I'm sure, many other red cards that are very powerful in cEDH, but I don't think any of them are stronger than the top 10 that we got.
They're not as good as these.
Ral plays so many bad red cards that are specifically good in Ral, not really worth talking about.
There's a lot of other Atali cards.
There's a lot of red cards Atali, you know what I mean? But like, that's part of the pull to red is that like it gives these 2-color and sometimes 3-color decks stuff. All the red cards work well together. So if you're in 2 colors and one of the colors is red, a lot of your cards are going to be red because they don't work together.
They work very well together. I said that before, but I feel like it's very parasitic.
Right,
you know, they all just work great together.
What's our top 10 red cards in cEDH from the bottom?
The 2 number 10s are Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast.
I agree.
We're off to a great start. Our number 9 best red card in cEDH is Wheel of Fortune.
Classically powerful, so good.
Classically powerful, but I hate seeing it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Rite of Flame is our number 8.
Weird that it's so low, but I could see it.
Also thought it would be way higher. We got a lot of new tools over
good red
years.
stuff,
yeah. Bergie is our number 7 then.
I could see Rite of Flame, there's an argument that it's better than Bergie, but no, I like Bergie. The ceiling's so crazy high with Bergie.
I think, this was a scenario where because the ceiling's so crazy high, I'm allowed to care about when the ceiling's high versus when this...
it depends on how high that ceiling is.
Yeah, exactly. And if I can flip into it for the backside of Fatali. Then our number 6 card, Jessica's Will.
I'm realizing red has a lot of things that is a little bit of mana and a little bit of cards, and I like that on a 1 card that does 2 things.
Then the 5th best red card is Gamble.
I agree. Gamble is, it feels bad often, but wins you the game the times when it doesn't feel awful.
Simian Spirit Guide's at number 4.
Crazy. That Elvish Spirit Guide was number 3.
Yeah.
And Simian Spirit Guide's number 4.
Which I, again, thought Simian Spirit Guide would be a little bit higher, but
Red's better than green? The best deck in the format doesn't play green. Plays red.
Yeah, red's better than green.
Yeah.
Hexing Squelchers are number 3.
Green doesn't have a Hexing Squelcher. Destiny Spinner fucking sucks.
That's true. Yeah. So does Docent of the Falling Leaf.
Allosaurus Shepherd also ass.
We didn't talk about any of those cards. Deflecting Swat is our number 2.
One of the best pieces of interaction in the whole format, regardless of color.
Although all it does is interact.
Doesn't win.
I don't know.
Dude, it's hard, right?
I don't blame us for putting Deflecting Swat at number 2, but there's like a weird pit in my stomach that's like...
That Hexing Squelcher should be higher?
Or Deflecting Swat should be lower.
That would mean Hexing Squelcher's number 2.
But it's not.
But it's not.
Because Hexing Squelcher's number 3 and Deflecting Swat's number 2.
Yep.
And it's too late to change it because it's a set in stone. I already sent it to the printers that way. This is how it's going out. And then the best red card in the format is Underworld Breach.
Underworld Breach, yeah. I'm curious in the comments if you have a different red list, what your top 10 would look like, because it might look similar to this, but it might also look very different. I could see Underworld Breach, I think, is without a doubt the best red card. There's no question about that.
So far, the only thing that we've gotten right on the 2 lists so far is the number 1.
What was the number 1 green?
Gaia's Cradle.
Not even a green card.
Right,
but yeah,
not
definitely.
even close.
But and then after that, I think it's much closer. The rest of these, I could see them all swap in different orders, for sure.
These are all more powerful cards than the green shit that we were talking about last week, though. So red's better than green.
Red's better than green. And it's weird, because for the longest time, blue and black have been the best colors in the format, now close, and everything else, there was a big gap. Yes, I do think that's still the case, that blue is still, without a doubt, the best color in the format, and black is a pretty close second. But I think think all of the other colors, they have been widened quite a bit. For a long time, red's issue was breach was good and all the other cards were maybe not so good.
They had dockside at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas now I think that like it's kind of changed a lot where like even red, green, and white are much closer to blue and black than we used to think. I think they all bring a lot of strengths, and it's not very specifically clear that like which color is the best out of blue's the best, but like after that it's
Blue's the best and black's the second best, and green's the worst.
And green's the worst, and red's and white's the second worst, and red's better than white.
I think white's better than red.
White might be better than red.
I think white's better than red. We won't know until the last one of these that we do, but
white might be better than red.
White might be better than red.
It's much closer than initially it seems. They're all very, very close.
Very, very close.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Tenception, Mac the Mad, Seabass, Not Kareth, Bob the Skull, Davisher, Abyss AA, Peggy, E4 Cards and More, Red, Finks MTG, Wandering Around, Nethresmian, Mike H, Tom Bieber, Cumulative Upkeep MTG, Nathan Cohen, Mr. Derby, Okie Toad, Penguin Man 0089, David Newman, Johnny Denver, Omelette, Rocky Hall, Pat Fires, Will Spengler, Larceny Roars, Your Boy Blue, Sparky B, S.C. Phillip, Olin Groupie, Zach Hartley, Reactive, Sean in the Ice, The Works 472, Gare Bear Garrett, Mace the Ace, Luke Cook, Connor Sipon, Joshua Day, Demon of Rosgrease, Peter Stewart, Corner Wild, Uncle Butts, Toot Luke, Quajay, Hamid, Scott Hawk, Baby Jeebus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thanks, Dragon Show, for supporting the show. Use code PlayToWin5 at our affiliate link down below for 5% off.
You can follow us on the internet for more content.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time. Talk about the $50 patrons too.
Migs FTW, Lumi E, Devin Morrow, Willow2998, Turtle99, Rick Sharticus, Max McComber, Meta Ben Finelli, Jason Brooks, Sarcastic, Mystic Muffin Man, Zachary Coulson, Dalton Poteet, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, David Nelson. Woohoo!
Hey, this is what you look like. Fucking dog shit.
Okay, I'll call you back.